Hey everyone, how's it going? Azren here, owner of the Calgary Language Nerds, and welcome to today's A1, sorry, not A1, A2 slash B1 level French lesson. If it's your first time watching any of these videos on YouTube or listening to them on my podcast, I am in the middle of a series right now to guide A2 and B1 level French learners to reach their B2 level. In other words, I'm making these videos to help people who have an upper beginner level or a low intermediate level in French and guide them, teach them, coach them to reach a upper intermediate level in the French language. Upper intermediate level for many people really is the end of the line. That is the dream outcome that they want. You can talk to people, you can understand, you can listen to music, watch TV, watch movies. It is a very solid, amazing, high level. And so this video series on my YouTube and my podcast is designed to guide you from your current level all the way to that B2 level. So far, we're, I think, 12 videos in, something like that. And we've been mostly focused on really frequently used words that you probably don't know at your current level. So these are words that French people, native speakers, use them all the time, but at your current level, you just haven't come across them. You just haven't mastered them. You just don't know them yet. And so we've looked at about 20-ish words so far. We've looked at aucun, rendre, ainsi, lieu, droit, donc, alors, soit, car, tant, autant, vers, poser, grâce à cause de, surtout, également, la loi, la guerre, and lorsque. Let me share my screen and briefly show you how those are spelled, just as a recap. So here's the document we're working through. Aucun, rendre, ainsi, lieu, droit, donc, alors, soit, car, tant. We had puisque as well, actually. Puisque, autant, vers, poser, grâce à cause de, surtout, également, la loi, la guerre, lorsque. And today, we are starting with a couple of new words. So the first one we'll do today is empêcher. Empêcher means to stop or to prevent. Now, empêcher isn't a stop in the context of like stop your it's not in the context of like I'm walking down the road and I stop walking. That's not empêcher. Empêcher is not like to stop moving. It's more like to stop you from doing something. So I'll give a couple of examples. I could say something like la pluie empêche les enfants de jouer dehors. La pluie empêche les enfants de jouer dehors. So that would mean the rain stops the children or prevents the children from playing outside. Another one could be le bruit m'empêche de dormir ce soir. Le bruit m'empêche de dormir ce soir. The noise stops me from sleeping this evening. Let me share my screen and show you a couple more. Okay, here we go. So we did, let's zoom in a little bit. Oh my goodness, why isn't it zooming very well? Zoom, for crying out loud. Why is there we go. It's kind of weird. It's not moving around properly. That's okay. We can see it. So la pluie empêche les enfants de jouer dehors. The rain prevents the kids from playing outside. Le bruit m'empêche de dormir ce soir. The noise keeps me from sleeping tonight. Le code de sécurité empêche l'accès au site. Le code de sécurité empêche l'accès au site. So the security code prevents access to the site. Or rien ne peut m'empêcher de partir. Rien ne peut m'empêcher de partir. Nothing can stop me from leaving here, right? Cette règle empêche les fraudes. So this rule prevents fraud. Mes parents m'empêchent de sortir tard. Mes parents m'empêchent de sortir tard. My parents stop me from going out late. You'll notice, by the way, let me stop my screen share. More often than not, with the verb empêcher, we are going to, it's going to be empêcher de. So like, la pluie empêche les enfants de jouer dehors. Le bruit m'empêche de dormir ce soir. Again, not always going to have a de. That's not like a hard and fast rule. But roughly speaking, you often are going to have empêcher de. Now, the second word to look at here is mener. Now, mener means to lead. Now, it could mean lead in many contexts. It could be lead as in I physically lead you to a certain place. It could be lead in a less literal sense. I lead us to victory, for example. Like lots of different types of leading that mener could be. So I could say, for example, le guide mène les touristes au musée. Le guide mène les touristes au musée. The guide leads the tourists to the museum. I could say, cette route mène au centre-ville. Cette route mène au centre-ville. This route or this road leads to the downtown. You'll notice that mener, the verb mener, right? More often than not, if you're to play the probability game, you're probably going to have men in the third person singular. The il, elle, and the il, elle form. It's probably, again, not always, of course not always, but if you had to like really play the probability game, you'll notice that it's going to be men. The word men is the form you're going to see it in. So for example, we look over here. We look at our example sentences. Le guide mène les touristes au musée. That's the form of the verb you're probably going to see this the most often in. As a little bit of an aside, one of the things that I really love, especially prior to a B2 level, is playing the probability game. Playing the probability game. Sometimes there's certain words, certain phrases, certain verbs, and they're just used more often in certain contexts. Like mener, if I had to really place a bet, or not place a bet, but if I had to really like think this through and try and look at the probability, I would say that men in this form, the third person singular, is probably used more often than other forms of the verb. Probably. Whereas if we look at something like, what's another example? Like avoir, the verb avoir in the past tense, more often than not, avoir in the past tense, you can use it in imparfait tense and kind of ignore, quote unquote, not ignore, but pretty much just mostly focus on the imparfait tense and leave the passé composé aside, and you're probably going to be okay for a very, very long time. Again, getting to a B2 level is not exactly about perfection. That's not really the goal yet. It's about getting your point across. It's about getting your point across. It's about being mostly correct. It's about learning the stuff that is most useful to you now, right? Very, very useful kinds of things. At least that's the kind of approach that I personally like to take. Okay, couple more we can do. Il mène une vie très tranquille. So he leads a very quiet life. Let's do I kind of like this one. Makes me think of the summer. Ce chemin mène directement à la plage. Ce chemin mène directement à la plage. This pathway leads directly to the beach. Okay, let's do let's see here. Yeah, we can do two more. Let's do two more words and we'll wrap it up. Let's do appartenir. Appartenir means to belong. Now, the way that appartenir works is it pretty much always is going to have a afterward. For example, ce sac appartient à ma sœur. Ce sac appartient à ma sœur. This bag belongs to my sister. Or cette maison appartient à mes grands-parents. Cette maison appartient à mes grands-parents. This house belongs to my grandparents. Let's do one more here. Let's do. Here's a slightly different one. Est-ce que ce stylo t'appartient? Listen to that one. It's a bit different, isn't it? Est-ce que ce stylo t'appartient? Does this stylo, pen, as I'm playing with in my hand, as you can see, I'm always playing with something in my hand. Est-ce que ce stylo t'appartient? Let me actually show you how that one's spelled. It's a little bit different. A little different. T'appartient like this. Est-ce que ce stylo t'appartient? Does it belong to you? This is a grammar point, by the way. We're going to have to cover this relatively soon. I'll give you a crash course right now, but we'll cover it relatively soon. It's a really pertinent grammar point that you've been introduced to almost certainly, but I just think that it definitely the A2, B1 level, like boy, oh boy, is it a grammar point that is just not fully internalized yet. It's the grammar point of like me and te and le, like something. Let's give a crash course now. If we said, for example, like if I said I talk to you, most A2 learners are going to say je parle à toi. And there's nothing exactly wrong with that, not in particular, but most of the time what people will probably say is je te parle. Je te parle. Je te parle. Okay? Or here, it belongs to you. Le stylo t'appartient. It belongs to you. Ça t'appartient. Okay? These are the previous sentences we did, by the way, up here. Ce joli sac, oh, I forgot to say joli. Ce joli sac appartient à ma sœur. This pretty bag belongs to my sister. Or cette grande maison, this big house, appartient à mes grands-parents. All right, last word here we're going to do, and then we'll wrap today's video up. We're going to work through the word d'abord. I love this word. I love this word so much. D'abord is a word that A2, B1 learners just don't use. But boy, oh boy, it's such a strong kind of a word. You know, there's a point in time where I used to teach something called, I used to call them fluency frameworks. And they were sentence starters, they were phrases, they were certain speech patterns that you could use. Like you could learn them in like half an hour and start to use them right away. And then by doing that, you could actually just instantly give yourself a boost and just sound a bit more like a native speaker. And so one of the things you can do to sound a bit more like a native speaker is just use the word d'abord. It just gives a bit more structure to your sentences, a little bit more structure. You can start your ideas on an intelligent foot. So you can say d'abord, blah, 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 blah. So d'abord, je prends un café le matin. First, I have a coffee in the morning. D'abord, tu dois faire tes devoirs. First, you have to do your homework, right? Or d'abord, nous allons visiter la tour Eiffel. First, we're going to visit the Eiffel Tower. Je veux d'abord parler avec le directeur. I want to first speak with the director. D'abord, il faut acheter les billets. D'abord, il faut acheter les billets. First, we have to buy the tickets. Let me show you some example sentences. I love this word. It's such a useful word. So, so, so useful. So d'abord, je prends un café le matin. I have a coffee in the morning. First, I have a coffee in the morning. D'abord, tu dois faire tes devoirs. First, you must do your homework. D'abord, I skipped this one here. I don't like this one. Let's do this one. D'abord, nous allons visiter la tour Eiffel. We're going to first visit the Eiffel Tower. Tu dois d'abord parler avec le directeur. Je veux d'abord parler avec le directeur. I want to first talk with the director. D'abord, il faut acheter les billets. First, we need to buy the tickets. So those are the words we'll look at today. And I think this is a good place to wrap up today's lesson. So stick with me here on these lessons. I'm really excited. There's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to go day by day, bit by bit, and we're going to reach this magical, amazing B2 level. I know you can do it. I'm here in your corner. If you have any questions, by the way, ever about any of these lessons, I mean, of course, you can post in the comments. That is always an option available to you. You can also just email me directly. Just go to, I'll type it on the screen for you here. Just email me or message me on social media. It's Azren, the language nerd. Email is the best place to reach me, but also social media, you can message me. Azren, thelanguagenerd.com/contact. Again, the link to this is in the episode description box. And you can just shoot me an email. I'm more than happy to answer. All right. Have a nice day. See you next time. Salut.